Queen's Park Rangers' tough run of March fixtures continues on Saturday afternoon with a trip to playoff hopefuls West Brom. So in this match preview, I caught up with Adrian Goldberg about the Baggies season so far, Carlos Corberan replacement Tony Mowbray, and the key players that can cause Rangers problems. If you enjoyed this match preview, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on YouTube, or hit follow and leave a rating if you're listening as a podcast. And let's get straight into it. Hi Adrian, how are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Looking forward to the game as well. We're getting very excited at West Bromwich Albion. The run-in is upon us, and looking forward to taking on QPR at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, West Brom have spent a great deal of time in the playoff places this season, but competition is fierce for fifth and sixth place. How have you rated the season so far, and how confident are you feeling of the Baggies holding on to a playoff place?
It's been a strange season. We started so well. You may remember after half a dozen games under Carlos Corberan, remember him? We were top of the table and we were playing really well at that period. But there's something very cagey, very measured about the way Carlos Corberan played. And by Christmas, or just before Christmas, we'd started to fall away a little bit. We were still in the top six. There had been a lot of draws, though, a lot of low scoring games. And if I'm honest, although Carlos Corberan had done a fantastic job taking over a team who went bottom of the championship after his first match in charge, he inherited a real mess from Steve Bruce and he'd done a great job. After a couple of seasons, I've got to say, it was starting to feel a little bit stale. Nobody would be calling for the manager's head in the stadium, but there were rumblings on social media. He got the call from Valencia, his hometown club, went there, and Tony Mowbray came back. He was actually the board's second choice. There was a guy called Rafael Vicky, I think he was. He was the first choice. He was offered the job and then pulled out, weirdly. So Mowbray came back for his second stint, clear of his cancer diagnosis. And those of us who are old enough remember a really exciting ride under Tony Mowbray last time. We scored over 100 goals in the, I think it was 2007-2008 season. And although results have been a bit in and out since Mowbray came back, we are starting to see a few glimmers now of what a Tony Mowbray attacking team can look like.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 3 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses to date under Mowbray. Were you happy with the club's choice at the time? Were the fans happy when he got appointed? And how are you feeling now that, he's got some games under his belt?
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because particularly in this era of social media, there's nothing like a unanimously popular decision. So there were a few detractors, but I think those of us who remember Mowbray from his first period at Albion have nothing but affection for him. And in the years since, even though he walked out on us to go to Celtic, which was a club that he had a real affinity for and which is a great football club. I think it was water under the bridge. Most of us had forgiven him for that and just remembered the good times. So personally, I was happy that we didn't get our first choice. I was very happy that Mowbray came back. Very good football manager and a very decent human being from all accounts as well, which of course is the most important thing. Mowbray comes back and the first couple of performances really were a little bit tentative. I went to a game away at Millwall and we could have been 3 down inside 20 minutes. Our goalkeeper made 3 fantastic saves in the second half. So we could have lost by 5 or 6 against Millwall, you know what I'm saying? And then by last weekend, we played away at Leeds and we could have won that game. So Mowbray was a little bit unfortunate in terms of his timing. Comes in over the Christmas period when there's such a rush of games. Now he's having time without so many midweek distractions to work up with the players on the training ground. We are starting to see a proper shape from the team and a proper style, and it's getting much closer to the style we associate with Tony Mowbray.
West Brom were pretty active in the January transfer window. Adam Armstrong and Will Lancashire on loan, Isaac Price and Tamer Bani on permanence, and of course the deadline day sale of Alex Palmer to Ipswich Town. How satisfied were you with that January window, and how big a loss was Palmer in goal?
Palmer was a big loss, no question about it. We've brought in Jack Wildsmith. He'd been warming the bench for the season. He came with a decent reputation. He's not a kid. He's 29. He got promoted with Derby from League One, and he's clearly a very excellent shot stopper. I mentioned those 3 saves that he had made against Millwall to keep us in the game at the Den. But he is uncertain when it comes to crosses. He sort of came and then didn't punch the ball clear, retreated to his line, but that was a contributory factor to us conceding a goal against Leeds. He was also, I would argue, at fault for the 2 goals we conceded in a 2-0 home defeat against Blackburn. So a very good shot stopper, uncertain around the edge of his 6-yard box is what I would say. So I'd say there's a definite downgrade there relative to Palmer, but needs must. I mean, our annual accounts have just come out and we lost £34 million last season on an income of £29 million. So we've got to get things right in terms of profit and sustainability rules. In terms of the incoming players, I think many Albion fans looked at Adam Armstrong and thought that is going to be the signing that gets us into the top 6 or keeps us in the top 6, keeps us in the playoff positions. Now, he's only scored once, I think, since he came, and we haven't quite found a way to feed him accurately, but I still think that in the run-in, Adam Armstrong could be crucial. I think he's a player that virtually every team in our position in the Championship would want to have. He's a proven goal scorer at this level, so very, very pleased with Adam Armstrong. We've got Isaac Price, who looks a real talent as well. He's already stepped up, even though he's only 21, taking a lot of our corner kicks, our free kicks and so on. Does a lot of work closing down, very important to our press, high up the field. And I think there's plenty more to come from Isaac Price. Tammy Bainey, we've only seen him coming on for a little cameo, played a brilliant pass to set up a goal for John Swift in our last home game against Oxford. So he's got promise, but we don't really know much about him. But considering that we are under financial pressure, I think we've got Armstrong in, we've got Isaac Price in. Unfortunately, well, we've lost Palmer, but considering that we are going to have to offload more players, I suspect, in the summer, that's a transfer window that gives us a chance of staying in the playoffs.
Now, top scorer Josh Maja, who of course opened the season with a hat-trick at Loftus Road, is out injured. Who else can cause Rangers problems at the Hawthorns, and where can QPR get at West Brom?
I'd say that the player we've mentioned, Adam Armstrong, he's due a goal. And I said on my podcast, The Liquidator, last weekend, that I do feel Albion are in the mood to get goals, that a team could get a cuffing quite soon at the Hawthorns. We've got a very tricky winger in Mikey Johnston. Johnston tends to cut in from the left. He's a right-footed player, but he can go outside on the left as well. Some teams think they've got him sussed out and tend to block off his route inside, but he can go outside as well. He had a real impact when he came on loan from Celtic last season. We signed him permanently. Hasn't quite had such an impact this season, but he is a dangerous player. On the other wing, we've got Tom Fellows. Fellows is being eyed up by Everton, and I suspect he will go for decent money in the summer. Been a bit off form recently, and he may not even start, but he's a player who can do damage. Armstrong for sure. And Tony Mowbray really likes John Swift sitting just behind the striker. Now, Swift is a player who is out of contract at the end of the season. He's not honestly loved by the Albion fans. He's not seen as a player who loves to graft and to sweat. I think that's a little bit unfair on him, but truthfully, since he signed from Reading, he hasn't really had the impact you might have hoped for a player who was rated as one of the best players in the Championship. But Mowbray likes him. Mowbray often talks about players with soft feet, and Swift has got soft feet. And Mowbray's tried to integrate him back in the team. He came very close against Leeds last weekend, and I think he'll play again against QPR and again could cause some damage. Those, I think, are the major threats. And I think in terms of our defence, I think a few teams have targeted our left back, Callum Styles. Styles is a very interesting footballer. He likes to get forward a lot. You'll see him playing with his socks rolled down his ankles. He's quite an eye-catching player, but I think his weakness is defensive. He's really a left wing back rather than a proper left back. So I think Rangers might get some joy down your right. And I think Armstrong floating a few crosses and you might be testing out his ability to command his 6-yard box, because so far that has not been particularly impressive.
Now, it's just one win in the past 11 for Rangers against West Brom overall, and it's just one QPR win in 11 visits to the Hawthorns since the year 2000. So, on the back of those generous stats, let's round off with your score prediction.
Well, I think truthfully, we under Tony Mowbray struggled to keep clean sheets. So I think Rangers are a decent side, but in some ways I would say a classic mid-table championship side at the moment. A team who on their day can catch you, and have got some decent players, but a team who probably won't be making the playoffs. So I'm expecting us to win, but I think you can score. I think you probably will score, truthfully. I'm expecting a very lively and open and entertaining game. I'm going for Albion 4-2.
Okay, thank you very much, Adrian. Really appreciate you coming on to chat me through West Brom season so far, and all the best for the rest of the season after this Saturday.
Likewise, up the R's, except for Saturday. Cheers, Gunnar.
Big thanks to Adrian once again for joining me for this match preview. You can check out his West Brom podcast, The Liquidator, and give him a follow on Twitter via the link in the description below. So, some unwelcome stats at the end of our chat there. Just one win in our past 11 league meetings, and just one league win at the Hawthorns since 2000. Given West Brom are making a push for a second consecutive playoff finish, they've spent just 8 of 35 matches outside of the top 6 this season, and our current form of 5 losses from 7, it's not looking likely on paper that Rangers will defy history, but you just never know with this team. After all, it is exactly 1 year ago that a Samfield brace against his former side saw a spirited Rangers come back from 2-0 at Loftus Road, which could have quite easily been an uncommon win against West Brom if not for Frey's penalty miss or the hand of Cedric Kipra. QPR won't be able to rely on Samfield heroics this time round though, with the club's latest injury update earlier this week more or less ruling out all of Samfield, Jan Seller and Jake Clark-Salter for the remainder of the season. Ryan Colley is expected to rejoin full training in mid-March, while Harvey Vale is progressing through early rehab work. Field will be a miss for the rest of the season, but thankfully Colback is back in the fold, so we have at least some cover in central midfield. For me though, I'd really like Cifuentes to use the absence of Field as an opportunity to cement a double pivot relationship of Varane and Morgan. Kieran came back into the side last weekend against Sheffield United, but struggled to have much of an impact in the 10 role. I personally think he's much more effective as an 8, and he was critical in our midfield in our good run this season, so I hope Cifuentes sticks with him after last weekend and prioritises him over Colback, a player I'd be surprised to see on our books next season. That's not to say that I don't like Colback, but the most exciting part of this season has been watching young talents come through, and so I really think we should prioritise someone like Morgan over Colback. Putting Morgan next to Varane will also allow Chair to remain our number 10 and Saito to start off the left. Elsewhere on the pitch, I'm still personally vouching for Liam Morrison to return for a start, and again, unless Cook is going to be here next season, I'd really be using this final run of games to get Morrison ready to feature much more prominently next season. With Dembele getting a few more minutes under his belt in the last game as well, there's every chance he plays a more significant role here in some capacity, though hopefully that will be further up the pitch this time. We did create a lot of chances last weekend, so if we can sharpen up our finishing and iron out those silly mistakes at the back, we can give anyone a go on our day. West Brom have only lost twice at home this season, but they have lost to both of the current bottom 2 away from home, and until the last few games they'd been a bit patchy since late January, so they're by no means unbeatable. So as usual, let's round off with a score prediction. I think we'll be much more up for this one, but I don't think we're going to have quite enough to overturn our poor record at West Brom, so unfortunately I'm going for a 2-1 loss. Do let me know your own score predictions and thoughts ahead of this one in the comments below, and if you're new to Hoopzone and you've enjoyed this match preview, please consider hitting like and subscribe. I'm so near to 3,000 subscribers now. Thank you very much once again, and I'll hopefully catch you next time for my match reaction. Come on, you Rs.